Ayo, what up, though? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Street Coder Nate, and today we finally get into some CSS properties. If you've been following along, you'll see that we finally finished out our HTML web page and we styled it up perfectly. But the thing is, we used the Chrome Dev Tools and we copied a lot of the CSS from the actual website over straight to our website, not really understanding what those properties were or what they did. So over these next few videos, what we're gonna do is tap in on these properties. Today, we tapping in on the CSS box model. So what is the CSS box model? Like I told y'all before, everything in HTML is just a box. And so what I'm about to do is I got a little website, or I got a little project already spent out, just an index.html file. We're gonna add a CSS file to it. And we're going to hop into some of these properties. With the box model, we're going to be talking about padding, margin, border, and then some other basic ones like background color and stuff like that, and color. And so let's get into this video and let's have some fun. Without further ado, let's tap in. Cool. Okay, so I'm gonna make myself a little light skin, almost disappear. But I'm gonna be floating around the screen today. This is my first time really trying that out, floating around the screen. So bear with me, but I will be a lot better. But I really do want to make this interactive and float around the screen, use the effects, disappear, come back, all that jazz. Make myself shrink, come up, be over here, be over there, wiggle around, all of that. So I really into making learning fun, and so I'm really gonna try to tap into the software that I have, and whatnot. So without further ado, let's get it. So actually, let me try to see if I'm make this full screen, and I make it a little better actually. Making it full screen, so make myself a little lighter like that. Okay, so like I said, I spent up what you can see right here. If we zoom in, is an index.html file is what you see right there. And so this index.html file is the file to this little project. And right now, all it has is an H1 tag. And how do I spin up this project so quickly? Let me just show you. Actually, just do this. How? Enter. Literally spin up the project. The document will just say CSS Box Model will be the project name, Box Model. And then the body will have an H1 tag that says, what up, though? Got this iPad right here. That says, what up, though? Like that. Then we're going to have, what else we need? We need an H1 tag. I'm going to put a div in here. Then I'm going to put a button. And then I'm going to also put an anchor tag. And anchor, just go to slash like that. Cool. So you see what I have here. I just simply have an H1 tag, and I simply have an H1 tag, a div tag, a button tag, and an A tag. I'm about to show y'all through these tags what we can accomplish with using CSS box model, and how we can really see the CSS box model through just these simple four elements. What is these four elements? We got our div, got the div, the H1, the button, and the A tag. So we about to tap into those and figure out, and CSS and figure out what they look like. So here is our HTML file online. You don't believe me? Let's refresh it, and you'll see right here we have our H1, our div, the button, and the A tag. So this is our file, right? And so right down here, if you will, let me make myself a little bit more darker. Right here, if you look at this, this is the CSS box right here. And so when I was saying that everything in HTML is a box and that everything in CSS is a box, this is what I'm referring to. Each element up here, if you look, each element, when I hover over the element, you can see the color. You can see that element being highlighted. Then I move down to the div gets highlighted. You can't really see it, but right here, that little speckled thing right there, that's the div. And then we got a button. The button doesn't say anything. And then this is an A, and that doesn't say anything. But actually, let me go get the button, an A, something to say. Actually, let's say this is a div, and instead of what up though, I'm just gonna be explicit and say this is um, this is h1. Let me move myself so I'm looking like I'm looking at the screen. All right, like right here. So this is h1, right? Okay, so you guys stop. This is h1, and moving that down. Slow down, Nate. Slow down. Okay, h1. So this is h1, and this is what we're gonna say here. This is h1. This is an h1. This is a div, and this is a button. And the reason we're doing this is so that we know which elements we're looking at already on the screen. This is an anchor, like that. So when we come back to the screen, now we can clearly see what we're looking at. So we got the H1 right here. We have this is a div. Then we have the button. Then we have the A tag. So cool. So let's look at each one of these individually in relation to this box over here. So that box right there, what is that box? So this box, once again, is representative of the CSS on this element. And so this element right here, we click on it, and you'll see it's an H1 element, and this is H1. But you'll see right here it has a 461 by 38 or by 36.8. What is that exactly? So that is that's referring to the number of pixels in this model, or in this the number of pixels in the content for this element. So for the element, you'll have a content section that's actually what we think the whole element is. That's the content section right here. And so it'll give us what the dimensions is of that. And then what you will see outside of that is something called the padding, and the padding shows up green. And let me remind you again that when we're looking in the box, or when we're looking in the dev tools, we can go up to the element.styles right here, and we can start writing CSS code right there. So let's go to this element.styles, and let's actually put some CSS on here. What I want to put on here is some padding. Right now you see these tick marks. These tick marks means that there's no padding or anything like that extra added. So we're going to say padding, and we're going to say padding is 1 rem. And you can see that it moved down vertically and moved to the left horizontally as well. And so let's hover over that element now. Well, first, let's just see, when we see this padding right here, when we go on the padding, we see now that it says 16. I put 1 rem. Rem is units. You have rem, em, and you have pixels. You have viewport height and width. You have viewport or height and width, and then you also have percentages that you can do things in. And so I use rem, and rem converts to pixels. And rem basically says the overall document, this HTML document, let's set 1 rem to equal 16 pixels, and everything after that would be like 2 rems is 2 times 16, so 32 pixels. And so I set the padding to 1 rem, but typically things are converted back down to pixels somehow. So I usually don't use pixels due to, like, when we get into responsiveness, I just use rem for that reason. But you'll see that it's real cool. I also use percentages, and I use viewport height and width. So you'll see that use cases. But if you ever need a quick pixel, just use a rem. That's what I use. Okay, so with that being said, we're going back to here. We'll see that it's we have a padding of 16 pixels right here on the H1 element, and then we look right above. You'll see that this is an H1 has that same green padding. So what is this green padding? This green padding is pretty much it puts area, it puts room between what you'll see right here, the border, in the element. So this kind of like adds a background, if you will, like the element and the border. If you think about a border and the element, it kind of like puts space in between the border and the element. So what I mean by that, let's actually add a border. Remember, we can manipulate the CSS right here in real time. So let's add a border, and for border, border takes three properties. What are the properties? The properties are you need to know like the thickness of the border. So like and you say the thickness in units, like in measurement units, so rem, pixels, and whatnot. So if I say 1 rem is the thickness of the border, so that'd be 16 pixels as a border. So actually that's a little too much, so I'm gonna say 0.5 rem. You could do it like that, is the border, and then we'll say solid like that. And then you also need a color, so you could also say like dotted or something. Dotted, you can say double, like you can actually do a double one. That's pretty cool. So double, and then you can give it a color. So let's say red, like that. And so now our border is double with red, uh, like that. Cool. So that's what our border is. And so I said the padding is between the border and the element. And so you have the border. If you kind of think of the border is the ending of like something, the edge. That's the border. That's the border of something, if you feel me. So we got the border, and so the space in between the border, you would think that's the element, but here we have the element. And so, if you will, this is the background. And so the padding in a way makes a background. And so we can actually give a background color, and you'll see that it'll fill up all the space in between the padding. And so it'll say background like this. You say background color, scroll down like that, and let's make this yellow. Yellow green, like that. And what you can see now is that the background is full, like the padding became green, yellow green. And so we filled the padding with the green background. And so as you can see, this is a H1 box. This is a CSS box, right? Like this is a H1 element that we're looking at. We're looking at an H1 element. But what's the last thing that we see on here? This orange like color. What is that orange light color? This orange light color is called margin, and margin helps you separate elements from each other. And so some people get this a little confused with padding, because they're both spacing in a way. But like I told you, like the padding is going to space between the element and the border, while the margin is going to space, if you looking right above the margin, it's going to space it between different elements. So what I mean by that, well, we got this H1 element here, and then we got this div here. This margin, that pink right above, is pushing that div element down that much, because the if we take the margin off, this like it's not supposed to have margin. So like I can set a margin of 0. Let's actually set a margin of 0, margin 0. And what you'll see is all the elements come right up, like right underneath. They come right underneath that H1. Like there's no longer any room in between, and that's on purpose, because that's exactly what the margin does, is pushes elements away from each other. And so that's what the and the H1 naturally has that much padding or that much margin on it, and this is why we use CSS reset, so we can reset the margin. We don't want the browser to automatically set it for us. We want to do it for ourselves. But this is the CSS box model, right? And so the thing is that this is the basic box model, but it applies to all elements. And so this is why I have all these other 3 elements, because I'm gonna literally make them all look the exact same, but uh, they're all different HTML elements, but at the end of the day, they're just boxes. And that's what you kind of got to get your mind wrapped around in CSS. So how am I going to make this div look like this H1? Well, I simply look at the div, and well, we'll go back to the H1 and look, we put a 1 rem padding on the H1. We put a border like this. Let's put this border Let's copy the border because I'm probably gonna forget. 0.5. All right, so we're gonna copy that border, and then we put a border color yellow green. So let's go do that to the div. So if we do that to the div, we say padding is one rim. Cool. Then we say, oops, don't know what happened. Oh, then we say border like this. We say border, and then paste that like, oh, come on, don't do me like that. Okay. Cool. So now we got our border on it, and then we want our background color is yellow green. Dash color. Yellow green. Come on, is that not looking similar? Yeah, we need to add some more, like, because it's a div, the div has its own basic styling that the browser puts on, and now you can see how the H1 has its basic styling. But at the end of the day, I just made a box out of that div that looks similar as the H1, and we're about to do the same exact thing with the button and the anchor. So let's go ahead and head to those ones real quick. I'm gonna slide down to the button, and we're gonna say the padding. We're gonna give it one rim, like that. And then we're gonna say the border is like this. And then we're going to say the background color is, what is it, yellow? Red or yellow green. And so actually I'm using these background color and stuff, but I'm gonna explain them in different videos, background color and stuff like that. But actually let's hop to the anchor, and I'm gonna take a little bit more time at the end and then kind of explain what these are. So padding, let's go again to one rim, and then let's go with a border that looks like this minus the second one, and then we need a background color of yellow green. Come on, y'all. Is this not looking all the same? These are all boxes at the end of the day. We have our anchor box, we have our button box, we have our div box, we have our H1 box all that at the top. And look, the buttons still work like a button. Oh, this is a button. It's supposed to click. I guess you can see it click, but you can't really see it click. This anchor still works like an anchor. You see, like that. It took me to slash. We weren't supposed to do all of that. I lost all my HT. I lost all my CSS. Okay, but y'all saw what the CSS looks like. I wish it cached it. But okay, I clicked on it, and then the page reloaded. I lost all my CSS. But at the end of the day, you saw that they were all boxes. Go back, rewind like 10 seconds. They were all just boxes. And that's what I'm trying to get you to understand in HTML. These elements over here. Do not let them scare you. They're just boxes. And you can put boxes inside of boxes. And when you think of a web page, you want to structure your page as if you're just putting these boxes all over the place. And inside those boxes, you're putting different elements like a H1 tag, a P tag. But at the end of the day, you're using a basic box. And so when I think of a basic box in HTML, I just go with divs. I put everything in a div. I section it off. Div stands for a division, a grouping. And so I use these divs to section off in different boxes, and then I put my H1s and my Ps and whatnot inside of it. And you can put divs inside of divs, and you can get really creative and stuff like that. And that's how you come up with these real complex web pages. And through these videos, I'm going to show you, we're going to use this box model a lot. But you saw me using a couple properties, and so I just want to talk about those properties. The first one is being padding. So padding, the way that we use padding is you press enter, and you saw me say one rim at first, and so this is a real quick shortcut. But in padding, actually you actually set 4 different properties for your padding. And so if you think about it, you scroll down here, you'll see that padding has this left, top, right, and bottom. You can literally set all of those properties. Let's go padding, and let's just say left, and do a one rimmer. And as you can see from here, the padding jumped from the left, but let's do 10 rim. And you can see it jumped really far, but from the right it didn't do much. And then if I put a padding right though, I can also add a padding right of one rim. And you see it jumped a little bit. And let's increase it to 2 rim, but this 10 rim is pushing it really far. So let me take the 10 rim to 4 rem. So I pushed it to 4 rem, and let's make this back to 0 rem. Oh, I guess because it's from the right, what I'm gonna have to do is increase it really far. Like, there we go. I'm pushing it from the right. So let me show y'all. If I scroll down here, you'll see it got 288 being pushed from the right, and you got 64 being pushed from the left within the element. And so that's the padding. And just like you set the left, top, and bottom, or the left and right, you can set the padding top like this, like 1 rem, and it'll push it down in the padding bottom and whatnot. But you saw the shortcut that I was using was just padding 1 rem. And what this does is it sets all 4 properties at once. But at the same time, there's another one that you could say padding 1 rem, 2 rem. What this do is this was set the first property does top and bottom, and the first value does top and bottom, and then the second value where that 2 rem does left and right. But there's another one that does north right here, and then it goes east, north, south, west. Yeah, so east, north, east, north, west. West, east, north. West, north, east, and south. That's going on the meme. Okay, but yeah, and so what I mean by that is you can set all 4 properties. Actually, I'm just gonna look it up real quick for you. Real quick. Shit. The CSS properties. CSS padding shortcut. Like that. And we're going in right there. W3 schools. We're going to click on neat one. We're going to make me disappear. And we're going to plus that. Okay. So for the shorthand, what we can do for the shorthand is simply do this, or for the shorthand, when we set in 4 properties, this is the shorthand for the 4 properties. And how it goes is top padding. So it goes top padding first, then it goes right padding, then it goes bottom padding, then it goes left padding. So I thought I had it right when I was explaining it, but I kind of explained it wrong. So it goes north, then it goes east, then it goes south, then it goes west. Northeast, southwest, basically, when you set in those properties. So let's come back over here. So what I mean by that, let's come back over here. We go. What is this? Okay, here we go. We come back over here. And so we can set the north, east, south, west literally by saying like north, and then what we want for east. East is the left, so let's say we want 3 pixels off the left, 3 rem off the left. Northeast, south, this is south, and then let's say off the west side, we're gonna get the 7 rems like that. And so we scroll down, and you see that we set northeast, southwest to the properties that we needed. Margin, remember, we just explained margin. Margin works just like padding, actually. You can remove things like this. Margin works just like padding. It has the same little shortcut, margin. And I can say margin 2 rem and push everything away 2 rem. Or I can set the northeast, southwest, or I can do the 2 values. It's up to the programmer at the time for what you need. If you only need to set the left margin, just set the left margin. If you need to set all 4 of them, maybe you might want to use the shortcut. It's up to you. Like, do what you do. You feel me? So that's that. What is that? So we talked about margin. We talked about padding. Border. So border, there's a shortcut. Like, so border starts like this. And with the border, what you can do is 3 properties. The first property, once again, is the thickness. So I'm going to say 0.5 rem. So thickness is in rems, pixels, and, all the different units. You look them up. You understand them. I'm just going to tell you that there's different units for measurements. And so you go understand that because you're the developer. But I'm telling you that there are. And I'm going to use rem in this channel. So if you want to understand rem, go look up rem real quick. But there will be videos on it. But go look it up. Okay, rem. And so we got 0.5 rem for the border. Now we need what type of border. I'm going to just go with a solid one. And then we need the color. And we could just say, go Okay. Oh wait, I forgot to say solid. Like solid as a rock, like that. Okay, cool. So that's the border, but at the same time, you can set them individually. You could say border right, and you can say color, and you can make that red, literally like that. And then you can do border. You can do just border. What else am I doing? I did border right color, so you can do border right radius or border. Let's do border left radius, and you really get access to should be radius, right? Border radius left, probably like that. Border radius, and let's just set it to rim. And you can also set the border radius. You can also set it on different ones too, but I guess I ain't remembering off the top of my head properly. But so you have access to a lot of things here. So margin, padding, border, those are pretty much the main ones here. And another thing I was doing was background color. Background, what you do is say background, you slide down the color, and you were seeing that I could choose like blue like this, or I could say green like that. But what I can also do is use something called RGB, which stands for red, green, blue. And the reason we use red, green, blue is because our eyes actually see those basic colors, and we mix all the other colors out of those colors. So red, green, blue, and each red, green, blue value takes a value between 0 and 256. And so the more of it you give, like 0 is no color, and then 256 is a bunch of color. So really just watch, like just look up the color you want, the RGB value you want. I'm just telling you about RGB because you might see it somewhere. So background color is RGB, not RBG. RGB is RGB that. And so you see that it set it to that color. But what you can do also is come right there, like I just did. There's a little, let me click off of that. This little spot right there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a little weird color. The same background color as that right above, right there, where it say background color. We can click on that, and it will open up this little palette, and we get free range like this, and then we can really make some cool colors. And as you can see, the RGB values and the A stands for alpha. So what is alpha? Alpha is the opacity. Uh, Basically how dark is it? So if you look right up here, I'm gonna change the opacity. It's get lighter, and then it get darker, and you can see the opacity right to the right is changing as I'm moving these values. But I'm telling y'all, the Chrome Dev Tools is phenomenal. It's gonna help y'all speed up so much. You ain't even gotta come here. You ain't gotta think of your colors off rip, nigga. Or you could literally just put red, click on the red, and then just start playing around with the colors that you actually want to use that flow together. And then you just copy the values over. But I was telling y'all, you can say red or RGB. You can also say RGBA, as you're starting to see right here for the alpha. But another one that you can use is hex. And hex is real cool. It's just 6 values. It's actually like the RGB, but it's a little different. And what I usually do is, once again, you'll see a lot of hex around. So I actually just Google my hex, like, let me get some purple colors and hex, and it'll just bring up a whole bunch of different purples and hex. And I'll come here and just copy that. And what you see, you just put the hex value right here, and it'll show up right there on the screen. And so put it right there, show up right here. So, or you put it right there, and it'll show up right there. So that's for background color, and honestly, that's for any color. Like right here, right border color. Change that one too. Make it over here. Put it on that. Actually, make some green, like that. You see, we can get real fancy, and then we just come over here, we copy this, and we put it into the CSS file, and then now our stuff is styled up just like that. CSS becomes really, really easy. And so as you can see, once again, you've seen the box model. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this one out right now. Finish it out. You made it. You got the box model down. Like, you really understanding that at the core, each of these elements are just a box, and that we can style them up however we want to style them. We made an anchor tag look like a button tag. We made the button tag look like the H1 tag. We made the div look like the H1. And then, as you also saw, was that the browser added their own little basic styling to each of the elements, and that's what makes it that element. But without that basic styling, all elements are just a box. You got it down. You now understand that CSS and HTML are just boxes, and we just changing properties on those boxes, and we putting boxes together and making complex websites just from boxes. So congratulations, pat yourself on the back, because next we got CSS positioning, and so we want to learn how to position these boxes on the web page and how they're naturally positioned, and that also we have control over how we're going to position them boxes on our website. So drop a boy a like in the comments, subscribe, hit me up, tell me what's up, tell me if I'm doing well, how we going. I get with y'all in the next video. Deuces.